What is going on, guys? It's your boy Shady Mike Gaming, and welcome to, well, I don't know what this is, but this is a more of a podcast style video. We're just going to be doing some talking some NBA basketball on the channel. I like to do this from time to time. And we're just going to talk about some of the recent events that have transpired across the league. Now, obviously, you guys saw the title of the video, and we're going to get into the Lakers. We're going to get into Trailblazers a little bit. But first, I just want to say thank you so much for all the support on the channel. Thank you so much for all the support on here on YouTube and on Twitch. I just got affiliated on Twitch, so you guys can follow me over there too. That's pretty cool as we do our live streams going forward. And yeah, just follow me on all my social networks at ShadyMikeGaming, Twitter, Instagram, and like and subscribe here if you like the content. So I want to let you guys know Donovan Mitchell's signature shot, still working on it. It's going to be fire when it drops. You guys know it. So just wait for that. It's definitely going to be well worth it. So other than that, guys, I want to talk a little bit about the Lakers. I want to talk a little bit about the Lakers elimination and what we saw last night. And I want to, I guess, first preface my statements by saying this. I want my views to be up front, my biases to be up front. I talk all the time about the Lakers and LeBron and how there can be no middle ground. But I feel comfortable talking about LeBron. I think I've always been fair when I've talked about LeBron. I think there needs to be something in between just a LeBron stan lover and someone that just hates everything that he does. I believe that I have that stance. I believe that I'm qualified to speak on LeBron. I don't hate LeBron. I don't love him to the point where I feel he can do no wrong, which is kind of my problem with a lot of his fans. But I feel qualified to talk about it. And, obviously, I think you guys will let me know in the comments if you agree with my stance or if I'm just a biased hater. Jokingly, I've been called a LeBron hater because I've said on plenty of times that I don't like the Lakers. But, whenever I rank LeBron in terms of, where he ranks all time, people say, oh, you're not qualified to talk about it because you hate the Lakers, so you're automatically going to, kind of dock LeBron. I'm like, well, no, because a lot of the players that I've argued in the past have a case to be above LeBron, be it whether it's Kareem or Magic or Kobe, they are Lakers too. So, and Shaq, you include Shaq in that as well. But I digress, and I just want to talk about the game and the series, and it was just a very odd. I thought that the way like this series ended was very strange. I just felt like we were all waiting for the Lakers to just flip a switch, and it's whether they didn't do it or couldn't do it or didn't try to do it. It just, this explosion from the Lakers never happened. And when we did see a little bit of energy from the Lakers last night, as in their elimination game in the third quarter, it was just way too little, way too late. So I want to start by answering a question, and this question's been asked, and I felt the need to address it because someone asked me on stream. They said, does this affect LeBron's standing as the GOAT? Does this qualify him as the GOAT or disqualify him as the GOAT? And my answer to that question is more like an NA or no, or it's like dividing by zero. That question doesn't make sense to me because I never had LeBron James as the GOAT, although I have him as a Mount Rushmore type player. I've always had it for me personally with it being, Jordan, then Kobe, and then you can argue about the next few players, whether it's LeBron, Kareem, Shaq, Magic, Bird. I've never really been a Bill Russell or Wilt guy. Those guys aren't really in that equation. But those are the next players with Shaq, LeBron, Magic, Bird, you know what I mean, and Kareem. Those are the guys that really take that second. I really have Kobe and Michael just kind of elevated over everyone else. I think in that second tier, you then have guys like LeBron, even guys like Tim Duncan too, just all-time greats that have accomplished incredible, impossible feats. Things like Kareem's scoring title, LeBron and his longevity, just, Tim Duncan and those Spurs runs, Shaq and his dominance, just all-time greats. But I never had LeBron in that GOAT conversation because I felt like he did too much maneuvering in his career to have an outcome or situation that was convenient for him. You know, D Wade's knees goes, oh, I'm going to go play with Kyrie now. Oh, Kyrie left. I have to actually, really lead a team by myself. Nah, I'm going to go to the beach and go to LA. I don't kill him as much for the initial Heat team up, but it's like, teamed up with 3 of the top 5 players of my draft class. That is something I do take into consideration when you say, is LeBron the GOAT? Not if he's great. We know he's great, but is he the GOAT? The reason I ask those questions is because I say, hey, what if Michael Jordan had teamed up with Shaq at the end of that 98 Bulls run? How many rings could Michael have retired with? What if Bird, towards the end of his career decided to team up with, you know what I mean? We can always have these hypotheticals, but you play the era that you play. And so I don't dock LeBron for those things, but they do matter when I'm comparing head to head. That's why he doesn't take that top spot for me. Still, obviously, one of the best of my generation. You know what I mean? And a player that I truly love to watch. And it'll be sad when he retires. And the question is, are we starting to see his decline in year 18? Earlier in the season, year 18 was something we were bragging about. But then later in the season, it's like, oh yeah, year 18. So we're starting to see things from LeBron we haven't seen. We're waiting for him to flip the switch in a closeout game. He can't flip it. Obviously, it matters that AD was hurt, but that's part of it. And I want to talk a little bit about that because the Lakers, they built their team around AD. They gave their entire franchise for AD. When you talk about just cleaning house and D'Angelo Russell and Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram and, all the picks, that's for Anthony Davis. Even Josh Hart, you think about, is a nice young player. But Anthony Davis has never been that guy. He's not durable. He can't stay healthy. He can't stay upright. And you can argue maybe the only reason he stayed upright during the bubble was because they had that long rest. We don't know, and that's something the Lakers have to think about going forward, because we could be looking at a situation where the Lakers' success is hinged strictly on the health of Anthony Davis, as he needs to. I think the expectation was that AD needed to come in and be the best player on this team. We had people thinking AD could be the MVP. But this year, he just was not able to rise up to the challenge, and I think it ended up putting way too much weight on LeBron James. So to answer the question, does it affect his standing as the GOAT? No, it doesn't, because he was, for me, never in that conversation to begin with. But you got to ask the question too, did this series affect his legacy at all? And there were some people, mostly Laker fans, on my timeline saying no. And I just objectively don't understand how that could be the case. How could you honestly look at someone and say that this series and what just happened has no bearing on LeBron's legacy? None at all. Can you honestly say that? That's tough. And I wanted to look at it from a couple different standpoints. Is it going to knock him out off the Mount Rushmore? No. If you're arguing, LeBron or Shaq, and then is someone going to say, well, remember against the Suns when he lost in 6 games? No, of course not. It doesn't affect him in that way. But what it does do is during this series, I felt saw LeBron behave in a way that, in my opinion, please take that into consideration. This is my opinion. Some of his behavior was unbecoming of a player of his status, of his greatness. And I'm going to mention a couple different situations and scenarios here. The number one, obviously, was the shoulder situation, the flop against Chris Paul, where you literally had LeBron James rolling around the ground for what seemed to be 10 minutes. When he broke his fall with his forearm, never landed on his shoulder at all, but was going to try and milk the call and roll around the ground for 10 minutes. And my thought process was, no, maybe he feels he needs to do that to win now that his physical skills have regressed seemingly. Now, we can talk about the injury because I know that's where most people are going to go. Well, he's injured. He's been hurt. Well, what about when LeBron was, facing up Jay Crowder and doing unnecessary crossovers and laughing and had the whole bench standing and spun baseline and did a double clutch layup? Well, was he hurt then or no? Because it didn't seem like it. So, you know what I mean? I felt like in this series, LeBron James, just his image might have taken a hit. Not his greatness, but his image, I would say, did take a hit just a little bit. Just talk about a few more examples. The whole let's leave the game during a blowout for treatment. I'm walking off the bench. I'm out of here. You don't need to be there with your teammates. I'm leaving. I don't want to be here. I don't need to be here for the camera. I don't want people looking at me. I thought that was a bad look. Personally, that's my opinion. It's a bad look. You're supposed to be the best in the world. Some people say you're the best ever for some reason. And you can't stay out there for 5 more minutes for the buzzer to ring and you walk in with your teammates? No, that's beneath me. And then obviously last night, the same situation. I'm not going to stay out there. I'm not going to congratulate an up-and-coming superstar in Devin Booker. I have nothing to say to them. I'm walking off the court. I'm not saying other greats haven't ever done it, but it is what it is. It's just that ambassador of the league, buddy LeBron James is kind of a facade only when he's winning and not for anyone else. I don't know. I just thought, I have always held LeBron in a much higher esteem, and just seeing him just walk off early, just seemed to disrespect the game. And so that's a tough one. But that's where we are now with the Lakers, and the reality of age. Father Time is undefeated. No, I don't think it affects his legacy long term, but I do think collectively that this series, it sure didn't help his all-time standing. It didn't help his image. We're going to remember him rolling around the ground trying to sell a call. We're going to remember him walking through the tunnel with 5 minutes left on the court. We're going to remember him not congratulating his so-called real-life friend in Chris Paul. I just think LeBron's better than that personally. But I guess for the Lakers, we'll have to leave that there. There's not much more else to say. They didn't have a team that could compete. And, you guys might be saying, oh, you're making this too much about the Lakers, or you're making this too much about LeBron and not enough about the Suns. Well, let's talk about the Suns. They have an up-and-coming superstar in Devin Booker, but this is his first playoff appearance. They had Chris Paul, who was hobbled the whole series. I'm sorry. This is about the Lakers, guys. This is a team that had the talent of a close to a number 1 seed, and they sure didn't play like it. LeBron didn't play like it. He was passive. He chose to shoot threes instead of drive to the rim. All series, he was passive. And again, I'm not giving him the injury excuse. If you're out there, you're out there. You can either play or you can't. We saw with Anthony Davis. You can either play or you can't. He went out there, couldn't play. He's out of there. 5 minutes. And that's a side note. I think someone on the Lakers medical staff needs to be fired for letting AD on the court. Guys, that's my thoughts on the Lakers. I know it's hard for some of the diehard Laker fans. I know this might be hard to hear for some of the LeBron stans and the guys that love him no matter what and refuse to hold him to a standard, but that's not me. I don't think anything I said was unfair or out of bounds, and maybe you guys will see it that way. Maybe you won't. But let me know in the comments if you do. But let's move on. I'm going to talk real quick about Dame. Not a lot to say about Dame. Dame is fed up. Dame is sick of he just doesn't have the help. This is Allen Iverson. This is Carmelo Anthony, ironically on the roster, but he doesn't have the help. They're not good enough. They never have been, never will be. They can't put a roster around them. So what does this mean for the league? What does this mean for Dame? We know Dame. So he's waiting. Obviously, is CJ McCollum going to take that next step? He's not that guy. You guys know that meme. Hey, you're not that guy. I don't even think CJ is the number 2 option. I think he needs to be a number 3. Maybe we need to get CJ over to Philadelphia with Ben Simmons and Joel. Maybe something like that. But I don't even think CJ is a number 2. He's just not good enough. He had some big blunders late in games. Nurkic, Melo is just over the hill. The help, Covington. It's just these guys aren't world beaters. They're not good enough. They're not even close. They're a 5, 6, 7 seed at best. And Lillard, he's going out sad. He doesn't want to go out sad, but this looks like Iverson in Philly. You know what I mean? This is bad. He needs help. So does Dame leave Portland? Does Dame demand they blow it up? Move CJ? Move these contracts? They're too good to get a good draft pick. How do you get Dame another star? I don't know if it's possible. Is this, and I guess the next question I'll ask is, does this somehow, some way result in some type of super team? Because Dame has been all against that. He came at Paul George for jumping around on teams, but Dame is starting to see you need help. You need help. You need some help. Maybe you don't need 2, 3 other stars, but you need something. And he doesn't even have anyone that's even borderline, in my opinion. I don't think CJ McCollum's an all-star caliber player. So do you see Dame try to get to the Lakers? Do you see Dame try to get to Philly? Like, what does this mean for the quote-unquote super team era? We know we have Brooklyn there. Do you see Steph Curry try to do something? Maybe go to the Lakers? Like what happens? Do you see maybe Dame? Could he possibly get to the Clippers? I don't even think financially any of these things would work. But my question is, if you guys had to take a guess, what does this mean for the league? Where is that next super team going to come from? Because look, it's got to be, you got to think it's got to be the Lakers trying to get one more starter. They try and get somebody like a Beal or Levine or something like that. Do the Sixers try and get a third star there in Philly? Do you somehow try? Can you get anyone to go to Portland? I don't think you can. And so Dame is starting to see some of the difficulties. Hey, maybe a LeBron James went through in Cleveland. So I feel bad for Dame. I feel for Dame. He literally gave it everything he had and fell very short in the closeout game. The Denver team is just better and deep, and we'll leave that as a side note maybe for another video, because I think it's funny how everyone acts like Jokic has no help when that Denver team is as deep as it's ever been, with Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. And obviously Murray's out with injuries, but he's got so much depth in Denver. But I digress. We're going to leave that right where it's at. But guys, those are my thoughts on what we've seen so far in the playoffs. I know nothing really big to say about the Jazz. Nothing really big to say about Denver. Those are two teams I think should win the series that they're playing. Clippers, Mavs, I need to see more. We got to see how that progresses. Luka's playing like a superstar. Paul George and Kawhi are giving it everything they got, but this is a situation where they could go down tonight. We will see what happens. But guys, those are just my thoughts. ShadyMikeGaming. I'm signing out. Peace. Threes.